Hello everyone, this video is an update on the OpenVic2 idea/project. What I'm going to do is give you the full rundown on exactly what has happened since I released that video on the 6th of January 2023 entitled OpenVic2 ? I'm also going to mention some of the important topics that I didn't talk about in the first video and those that were raised during all the varied and robust discussion that happened after that. Basically an update on where the project is now. The first video put forward the idea, explored it, and discussed a few similar projects. A lot has happened since then and this has formed into something real called OpenVic2. It's been decided that the official name for this project will be that shortened version of Victoria, just OpenVic2. Whenever I say the full OpenVic2 in this video, I'm either referring to the idea in general or referring to the official project in an offhand way. OpenVic2 now has an official development team, many of whom I will be thrilled to introduce you to in this video, and then the rest of them I'm sure at some point going forward. And after this video I really want to organise some discussion streams where we will get members of the team on and allow them to speak for themselves and talk about the more technical aspects that I'm not qualified to talk about. This video will give a rough overview and talk about certain things in detail and gloss over other things. But it's just a video and I don't want to make it too long. On streams we will have hours to get into the nitty-gritty details. This is an overview of what the project actually is. An open source faithful recreation of Victoria 2, which by the way is built from the ground up, not using any actual Victoria 2 assets or code. The project has a public Discord, which I invite everyone to come and join. It's a place where you can discuss the project, raise your suggestions, follow updates more closely than I can provide in videos, and you can chat with or ask questions to the development team. Criticism and scrutiny is allowed, unlike certain other places. The Discord was created by Catalyst, who has since gone on to become the official community manager of the project. Imagine this project already having fancy titles like that. But seriously, he's done a great job on this, as well as other things I'll talk about later, and he's done most of the management of this Discord as well, setting up all the channels and the roles. I thank him very much for that. Please do like the video. This is important because it can help the algorithm get this video to more people so they can hear about the project, get involved and become interested. Subscribe if you haven't already, as well as normal Victoria 2 content. I will be covering this extensively. If you'd like to support me and the channel, you can give a super thanks in the comments, you can join my Patreon, or you could become a channel member. For the record, all those things are about supporting my channel, not the OpenVic2 project itself. I only incidentally make videos about that project, and I'm involved with it in some capacity as a publicity person, as well as behind the scenes stuff, so make your decisions based on that. Discussion streams about the OpenVic2 project are something that I intend to keep streaming on YouTube for, whereas I've moved all my streams of games over to Twitch. So most of my streams are back on Twitch now and I've got a lot of reasons for that, but I find that keeping discussion streams on YouTube would be a good idea because they're always very successful here. Anyway, after this video you'll be completely up to date on OpenVic2 up until the date this video was released. Enjoy. I will now cover what happened since I released that video, going off on many tangents about the project along the way. It was a very successful video, drawing in about 25,000 more viewers than my subscriber count, which is always a very good sign. My Victoria 3 War System video got way more views than my subscriber count, but that was about a very big new game. This is about Victoria 2, which some people claim is dead or dying, and it generated about 580 comments, all of which I've read of course. Before I released it I had a suspicion that a lot of people would be very supportive of the idea and it would generate a lot of discussion, but I think even my positive expectations were blown away by this. The response to it was overwhelming, with so many people coming forward with enthusiasm and even actively volunteering their time to work on the project without being asked to do so, and with no project actually existing yet. Overall I think a lot of people had this sort of idea at the back of their minds, but without very much hope that it could actually be done or very many people to share the idea with. After releasing the video I was made aware of at least 2 other one-man projects to recreate Victoria 2 that hadn't really gone anywhere. Also numerous comments of people saying that they've thought about this sort of thing and that they've been wishing for a long time that something like this could happen. Some people expressed their support for the idea with negative reasons regarding Paradox and Victoria 3, and of course I made a lot of digs against those 2 things in the video. On that note I think it's very important to point out that while negativity about Victoria 3 is certainly one reason that might spur people on to make a project like this, and people who really dislike Victoria 3 might be a key audience who might be interested, and of course our criticisms of Victoria 3 are all true, it's not the main or overriding reason, and to build an entire project on negativity isn't a good idea. This project is very positive for its own merits, and it's also positive about Victoria 2, a game that we love, which of course was made by Paradox, at least the Paradox of many years ago. I already know that this project isn't about hating something else, but I just want to say it for the record again. And I also want to repeat what I said in the first video, which is that if you like Victoria 3 that's absolutely fine and you're still welcome to be on board with this project. You can like or dislike Victoria 3, but it's an undisputable fact that it's so different from Victoria 2, and therefore OpenVic2, that there is no mutual exclusivity between them. They can coexist. Anyway, another big category of comments were people reacting to my age, and that was the top comment. What am I actually supposed to say to this? I mean, I know my own age, it's not a surprise to me. If other people are shocked, then that's really their problem, it's up to them. Another important theme in the comments were people raising other open source projects that I hadn't heard of. The highest of these comments was about the OpenMW project, which many other comments were about as well. When I see the abbreviation, I first thought of Open Modern Warfare, and I thought, did someone make an open source Call of Duty game? Nah, this is Open Morrowind from the Elder Scrolls role-playing game. I hadn't heard of it, so it's very nice that it was brought to my attention as another great example of an open source project that was hugely successful, but it took a very, very long time to make, years and years. And that leads me on to another point that was raised a lot in the comments, and this has also been raised more commonly in other platforms such as Reddit threads about this. And that is of course people pointing out how difficult this is and how massive an undertaking it is, and general warnings that it might not work out or that it might take years, and these are all very valid warnings and points to raise. It's true. We should always keep that in mind, but I really don't see any actual argument behind the cynical comments, especially ones that say that this won't work at all. Should we just not bother? This whole thing isn't a guarantee, but why not raise the idea and try? The only thing that could actually stop the project is legal issues, which is something I'll talk about later. But the main response to this sort of sentiment is when I introduce the team, which again I'll do later as we get to that chronologically in the series of events after I uploaded the first video. One of the best protectors against overconfidence, over-enthusiasm is of course experience, and the team that has been put together for this project has a vast wealth of that. And for any cynicism about the project, I refer you again to Schomburt's work that I showed in the first video. That is one guy who made all of that. Imagine what a whole team could do, and Schombert himself has been joining in discussions with us about the project and advising us, which we thank him for. But probably the most relevant piece of evidence we have is that Victoria 2 itself took under a year, not even a year, to make. Of course they had many advantages being full-time and having an engine that they already know, the Clausewitz engine. The OpenVic2 team is bigger though, and if anything Victoria 2 was sort of rushed, and that explains a lot of the problems with it. OpenVic2 isn't a company with deadlines and money involved, so we can actually take our time. In any case, just be careful, don't go using this as an actual sign of how long OpenVic2 might take. It's just something that bodes very well. Another very big theme from the comments of my video, as well as all the discussion that happened after the video, is features. A lot of people are treating this as if we're sort of making a new game and we're going to add lots of original features, as well as fully implementing features from mods or even Victoria 3. I was of course guilty of this myself in the Open Victoria 2 video, by exploring potential things that we can do better than Victoria 2 and things to quote unquote fix. But I like to think that I covered it completely by adding one caveat, which is that first and foremost we should faithfully recreate Victoria 2 as it is, before looking at potential improvements or entire new branches of the game, and of course mods. The main reason for this is that features will be contentious. A lot of different people will have a lot of different views on a direction that they would like to take the game, and that includes my own views. Suggestions have been put forward that would make it a fundamentally different game and have unintended consequences. If we just limit the improvements and innovations to the technical side, making the game run better, making it have stable multiplayer, and one of the goals is to open up more modding tools while also providing compatibility or conversion with existing Victoria 2 mods. But when it comes to game mechanics, to try and faithfully recreate them as far as possible. That is something that we should all be able to get behind. That's the direction the project will take, and it's the unifying vision. I get that people are very enthusiastic and they're inspired to come forward with a lot of different ideas, and I don't like to shoot them down, but I've explained to you the reasons that we've taken the approach we have, so hopefully you can understand that. This is closely related to a problem known as feature creep, where you try to implement lots of different suggestions and ideas and it spirals out of control and you end up trying to do too much. The potential problem with this project that could lead to feature creep is of course things in Victoria 2 that are broken, and that any sane developer might think, well, why would we want to implement that mess? Especially the economy, which everyone knows runs on black magic. Well, the team is very much aware of this and they've already been discussing it a lot, even at an early stage before they've begun to even plan mechanics. They've been talking to Victoria 2 modders, trying to get an early understanding of the economy, particularly with Nurse Reno, the author of the famous guide, of course. The team also is very familiar with Victoria 2 and I'm there to help them on that front, but it's an open source project and we have the public Discord. Anyone can come in and give feedback about that. If at any point anyone thinks the team is getting something drastically wrong about recreating a Victoria 2 mechanic, you can raise it. And for this video I spent ages trying to find a way to word exactly what Joe has said here. We call this a reverse engineering of Victoria 2, but of course we don't actually have access to the inner workings of the real code of Victoria 2, and we don't want that. Although I may have speculated about this in the past before I knew anything, I realised that we do not want to see, interact with, or have anything to do with the Victoria 2 source code. That was ruled out for this project soon after I made the first video. We don't want anything to do with that. So there will be guesswork, there will be trial and error. Anyone who's really thought about how making this project will really work will know this, like Joe does. And by the way, this is the second member of the team that I've introduced you to in this video. Joe has taken on an organisational and project management sort of role. He has years of real experience in that as well as general software engineering, also did a lot of Victoria 2 modding, and he is the person who introduced me to Victoria 2 multiplayer back in 2012. He is in my earliest of Victoria 2 videos, you know. At least in our group back in the day, everyone considered him one of the best players, but I'm not sure how he would hold up now. He's the only person involved in this project who I can say that I actually asked him to come and join it, or at least hinted towards it, because I've known him for years. I trust him and know how competent he is. Anyway, I definitely want to bring him on for a discussion stream at some point where we can talk more about that. He's already done so much great stuff with the organisation, project management, and I thank him so much for that. So that addresses a few of the things that were raised on the comments of the original video and then further discussed on Discord as the project started to come together. The last really big issue that I'll talk about that was raised in the comments and has been discussed extensively since then was legal stuff. Is this whole thing against copyright? Can Paradox stop us? Are we breaking the law? Oh my god, what is going on? This is a topic in which seemingly everyone has an opinion. Everyone has suddenly gotten a law degree and wants to decide how far our project can go, wants to tell us to not even bother, wants to make the sort of argument that what we're doing is actually in complete compliance with copyright and is legally sound. However, Paradox could just start a legal battle with us that we simply can't afford and we'll have to close the project anyway.
He left his briefcase. Hey! It's full of shredded newspapers.
Not even the greatest rule lawyers of the Victoria 2 community could win a battle like this. But we have seriously looked into and considered these things, and we have had a couple of people with real legal knowledge weighing in. If you completely discard the views of people with no legal knowledge, then we're left with a very positive outlook. I'm not going to cover any of the specific considerations in this video, but I will say in a broad sense, we intend to fully conform with all relevant copyright legislation in all jurisdictions involved. And this doesn't involve everyone relocating to Belarus. I said earlier that legal things were something that could stop the project. Hypothetically they could, but then very soon after it stopped there might be a brand new project with a new name that might be looking to be a new contender in the Victorian era grand strategy game market. Still probably open source, but this time a competitor, which Open Victoria 2 is not. Any similarities to past grand strategy games in this hypothetical project would be more coincidental or inspired, in the same way as Symphony of Empires. Who knows? A few days after I uploaded my video, I reached out to my contact in Paradox and told him upfront what we're intending to do and that it's open source and it's not going to make any money and all that. It's obviously a good idea to open up some professional dialogue about this with Paradox. They will know about the project anyway, I might as well be upfront about it. As much as I make fun of Paradox or criticise them in my videos, this project isn't anti-Paradox. It's a respectful thing towards one of their older games. You could go as far as to say it's a sort of tribute, and that's a lot nicer than that potential competitor thing that I just theorised about. It doesn't seek to compete with them in any way or get in the way of what they're currently doing with Victoria 3. Victoria 2 is 13 years old, it's out of development, they've already long since made their money off it, the CEO shaved his head for that profit, and I don't think we have a final answer on this yet, but there is a potential that we require Victoria 2 ownership or existence on your computer in order to play Open Victoria 2 to use assets and that sort of thing. Some other open source recreations do exactly that. Anyway, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how Paradox respond to this, and I hope they do soon. I've covered a few different topics, now I'm going to really focus on the timeline of events and the formation of the project since the video. So I released the Open Victoria 2 video, it got lots of views, it got discussion going including on my Discord of course. When I released the video I still wasn't actually available to do very much follow-up work on it, although I monitored most of the chat and the comments. I made a quick temporary section on my Discord with a general chat, links to the related projects such as Symphony of Empires, and the discussion really got going here as well. The people who had lots of past software development experience, the people with the most enthusiasm and knowledge, began to make themselves apparent and they came to the forefront throughout all these early discussions. People began getting into the nitty-gritty technical stuff that I'm not qualified to talk about, and reassuringly they were all positive about the feasibility of the project. There was no one with any real experience or knowledge who was saying that this was impossible. Two of these people were Spartan322 and FakeBite, both of whom are on the development team now. FakeBite has a great deal of experience in networking and as such that's his role. He's got the greatest responsibility of all, which is to abolish oosing, and Spartan is actually the lead developer. Both of these guys are absolute professionals with so much experience. It's a pleasure to have them on the team and I thank them very much for their participation. On the 9th of January, Catalyst appeared and I've already shown you how he since became the community manager. He created the public Discord for the project, which of course you should all join, and that was ideal because I absolutely hate managing Discords. I wonder what could be the reason for that, and he created a public forum where people could express interest in joining the project and provide their relevant skills and experience, and that's how the project really got going. Catalyst has been absolutely instrumental and he deserves a lot of credit for that. Although the forum wasn't meant to be a serious application forum, it ended up becoming essentially that, and that is how the team was put together. Meanwhile, the public Discord was very active with loads of people putting forward suggestions, discussing topics such as the legal stuff, technical stuff, coding languages, as well as artwork. I'm going to go off on a tangent now about the artwork and graphics of the project. We started by just putting forward ideas and suggestions on the Discord, and I actually think this Discord forum feature works really well for this. I started messing around with AI generated pieces. I remember this one I created on DALL-E Mini months ago to make a meme about Victoria 2 versus Victoria 3. This panel in particular goes very hard. I don't think any of the pictures created while we were messing around with the AI generations are actually going to be used in the project in any meaningful way, but it was a lot of fun. And if anything, maybe the real human artists that we have could use them as inspiration, I don't know. This is by far my favourite one. It goes very hard. Feel free to screenshot it. Anyway, now it's actually time to give credit to the real serious artists who are graciously helping out with this project. The one that you see here is more or less maybe actually a final design of the OpenVic2 logo. Still might be subject to change. Let us know what you think about it. This is by Patrick, who's on the art team, so thank you very much for making that. And as you can see, I've been using his pattern as a background for my video the whole time. He also made this, which is an idea for a potential loading screen format with a historical painting, the OpenVic2 logo, and a description of what it is. I checked the chat and the idea for putting a logo in the bottom left was actually by Dolt, another member of the art team. Using historical paintings is a tried and tested thing. It's been used in so many mods for Paradox games. It just works perfectly, as you can see from the examples that we've used showing the most peaceful time in human history. That's an older version of the logo in the bottom left, by the way. Another artist on the team, Pew Pew, has made artwork for EU4 mods like this one. He specialises in highlighting one specific thing in the historical painting, and it really works well. He made this one, which is more relevant for the Victoria time period, and it's great. And also on the art team we have Yak, who made this one, which is brilliant. So I thank all of them for being on the team, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come out with in the future. Closely related to this, we have the potential soundtrack for the project. We're not going to use Victoria 2's own soundtrack, obviously. What do you think that music is in the background right now? Well, frankly, it's far too dramatic to be using in this video. I need some more royalty-free bossa nova. And what do you think that piece of music was at the start of the video? Well, these were both composed and put together by Catalyst. So he's already done brilliant work as the community manager, but he's also composing fire. Is there anything he can't do? So we have the public application form, which I'll link in the description so you can see for yourself. Furthermore, if you're interested in contributing, we still have this open. Even after a team has been formed, we're still looking for future potential contributors. You're always welcome to write the form. We had a sort of committee that looked through the applications, deciding who's best for the team and what roles and experience we might need. Based on Spartan and FakeByte's responses, they were immediately added to this committee and given lead roles on the project. And of course we had Schomburg, and I brought Joe in, and two of the leading people on the Symphony of Empires project, Leaf and Eric, who of course have valuable advice to give based on working on their own similar project, and we really appreciate them. And of course I'll still be looking out for Symphony of Empires as it gets developed alongside this. By the way, I say we put together the team, but again it was mainly Catalyst and the rest of that committee. I was still on holiday and don't have the technical know-how anyway. The fascinating thing is that we really didn't even need to publicise the form much to get all these contributions to it, which is something that I could have done with my YouTube channel and my reach and all that. All these great people expressed their desire to contribute to the project just based on following how things developed after I released the first video, going on my Discord, joining in the discussions, and then joining the public OpenVic2 Discord. We already had loads of submissions to the form before I even did an everyone ping to advertise that Discord, let alone now mentioning that form for the first time in a video on my channel. But like I said, you can still make submissions to that form, and I suspect we might get even more now. I'd like to really thank everyone who already has made their submission, even if they didn't make it on the team. Thank you for expressing your interest in this project. We all really appreciate that. I'm going to talk about Victoria 2 modders now, and a sort of miscalculation that I made in the first video, except it's a really good miscalculation because what turned out to happen instead is astronomically better. In that video I had it in my mind that the Victoria 2 modding community would be the people most likely to undertake a project like this, hypothetically if it was going to happen. And basically I thought, well, these people are already making great mods, they're clearly passionate about the game, they know the game inside out, they're already devoting loads of time into this, and then you combine that with Schomburg's project. It wouldn't be a great leap to go into a full-blown open Victoria 2, and the Victoria 2 modders that I know are into multiplayer, so they would also have a direct interest in playing a Victoria 2 that didn't go out of sync all the time. But that's not actually how things transpired. As you can see from earlier in the video, what actually happened is completely overwhelming and blew away my expectations. Rather than people I know from the Victoria 2 modding community, the OpenVic2 team has been composed of professionals who have taken an active part in all these discussions, put themselves forward to join the team with no one even asking them to do so. One of the reasons for this, which I miscalculated, was that Victoria 2 modding isn't necessarily close to actual software development at all, although it's in the same general realm of things. I mean, even I could make a Victoria 2 mod, it's not that hard to make some basic things in there. I made a Victoria 3 mod, but what we will have is a close dialogue between Victoria 2 modders and the OpenVic2 team. We've got a channel specifically for that on the OpenVic2 Discord. You can get the Vic2 modder role on there, and then there's a channel specifically for communing with the team. For example, they've already talked about the Victoria 2 economy with Nurse Reno, as well as the very crucial topic of mod compatibility with OpenVictoria 2. All sorts of technical details about that have been discussed in depth with already. The opening up of much deeper modding potential than there is in normal Victoria 2 is one of the real goals of the project. When we talk about new features and innovations, and people make all those suggestions that I was talking about earlier, it's the modding after we have the faithful recreation as a basis where all these things can come into effect. A basis, by the way, that will be much more stable in terms of the technical aspects of the game, more optimised, all of that. And when the modders have access to much deeper elements of the game than they currently do, their potential can really be unleashed. Alright, now we get to that section of the video which you might recall from the Victoria 3 War System video. Given everything I've said in this entire video about how the project has come together, so many passionate people have come forward to volunteer their time for this without even being asked, which I'm so grateful for. People with vast experience and skills in software engineering, project management, art, music, and a great amount of positive support in the community. All of which came from a really hypothetical and speculative video with a question mark in the title, where I just put forward an idea, gave a few arguments for it, showed some similar things. Keep all that in mind and look at these comments. Some people might be thinking, Spudgun, why'd you put this section in the video? Why bother with them? They're not worth it. But I have very rarely, if ever in my entire life, seen anyone get something more wrong and get completely and utterly destroyed, as much as the middle comment has at least. The sheer scale of their L is too monumental to not cover. But this isn't just about ranting against these comments. I'm also going to use this to make general points about the project, which go beyond that. Just look at that. I severely doubt he will be able to gather a team with such a visible lack of blah blah blah. It's absolutely over for this person. OpenVic2 is going to be a difficult, long project, but not as difficult as this guy recovering his credibility. The snobbery, the elitism, the implication that if you don't have deep technical knowledge about a subject, you can't talk about it. Software developers can't make stuff based on other people's ideas. What these people fundamentally don't understand is that when I say I would like to see Open Victoria 2 happen, or I thank one of the members of the OpenVic2 team for doing a piece of work, I'm not just speaking for myself. I speak on behalf of thousands of people who share that sentiment, as evidenced by the response to the first video. I'm not the only one who wants this. If I'm asking people to do this or demanding people to do this, then so are thousands of others who want it to happen as much as I do, who also are not software developers but just players of Victoria 2. I didn't come up with the idea or pull the desire for it to happen out of thin air. For example, Idiot here is saying that I'm making a demand for it to be the exact same. First of all, it's not a demand, you can go back to the original video, it's just a personal preference, which has since been backed up by software developers saying that this is a good way to avoid feature creep, and to give the project one basic unified vision. And furthermore, as a non-software developer, I even acknowledged in the video that coding in bugs seems strange. Maybe this guy just didn't watch the video. But the kicker is that the so-called carbon copy is a long-standing desire within the Victoria 2 community that goes back for years, with just a few things being fixed but generally the same. In multiplayer specifically, there's a long-standing wish for the game to be exactly the same but with functioning multiplayer. Looks like no skills or knowledge Spudgun actually knows the market very well. As I said, I didn't come up with the overall idea for this, but what I do have is a YouTube channel, a platform, so I have the ability to put an idea out there. And these messages and everyone who upvoted them in their typical brain-dead Reddit way are not disagreeing with the idea or raising potential concerns, which is all very fine. They wanted to use it as an excuse to show off how intelligent they are and just how great they are at software development. And they've attacked me and essentially the entire OpenVic2 team and everyone who supports this, and I'm not letting them get away with it. As for this comment here about me wanting an easier time streaming my favourite game, since he's so annoyed about me delving into the field of software development and so keen to educate me on that, let me do the same for him about my profession. In terms of pure self-interest as a YouTuber and streamer, Open Victoria 2 being made isn't necessarily in my favour. You see, after the release of Victoria 3, lots of other YouTubers and streamers moved away from Victoria 2. The key example being Bocoen, who makes multiplayer content like me, saying that he doesn't want to play Victoria 2 again. So as you can see, in a certain sense, this gives me quote-unquote dominance of a Victoria 2 market. My only competition is that damn big weevil. If anything, Open Victoria 2 could only bring these types of people back and give me more competition. The status quo is great for me, filling a certain niche, being that Victoria 2 guy who doesn't like Victoria 3. Instead of making Open Victoria 2 videos that get 55,000 views, I could make Victoria 3 videos that get 100,000 views. So if I was acting out of pure self-interest and wanting to make it easier to stream Victoria 2, I wouldn't have made the Open Victoria 2 video. If Open Victoria 2 makes it easier for me to stream it, it by definition makes it easier for anyone to stream it. But making it easier to stream really isn't the reason for this, it's making it easier to play, it's for the players, which, as I've said, there are thousands of potential people waiting to do that. As for the topic of money, doing something for free and crowdfunding. First of all, if we go back to the comments of the first video, there were lots of very enthusiastic people who said that they would be willing to contribute to that if there was going to be an option for crowdfunding, even though I didn't mention it in the video. And why should I mention it in a video that's just just generally exploring the idea. To start with, there are people on the team who have past experience with open source projects, as well as modding of course, where I can only shudder to imagine how they've gone through the horrible experience of doing something that they love out of passion for it, also building up more good stuff to put in their portfolio which can help them get employment. Either way, it's a better use of their time than being a miserable bastard posting on Reddit, twisting my words and coming out with these stupid quotes. I don't need to twist their words to make them seem stupid, they do a perfectly good job of that on their own with their real quotes, right there in full and in context. But the thing is, the team is generally against bringing money into it at this stage. The project hasn't incurred any of its own costs yet, but when it does, the team has actually spoken about funding that out of their own pocket. And then there's the whole topic of whether bringing money into something will just corrupt it, and that is a real serious topic that would have to be discussed. Crowdfunding is completely up to whether the team wants it or not, and currently they don't. So to all those people who are talking about potentially donating to the project, keep your money, get yourself something nice, treat yourself, on me. And by the way, the absolute full context of those Reddit comments was this thread with someone saying that their cynicism about the project prevailed and they had some concerns. This is a completely reasonable post, especially since there hasn't been an update video until this one, so all you have to go on is the first video unless you actively search for all the information by joining the Discord and all that. That doesn't excuse those other 3 comments that went on the attack against even raising the idea. The concerns were all answered in the thread, and the person who made this also went and joined our Discord, realised how the project is actually coming along, which all of you should do as well by the way by joining the Discord. So those concerns were all sorted. However, whenever there's a Reddit thread that brings up any sign of negativity, it brings out the more stereotypical Redditors every time. This whole section was a bit more negative, so I'm going to leave it on something positive. That was very nice of him to stop by. So that's an overview of where the project is and how it got here since I uploaded that first video. There's plenty more to talk about, and there are quite a lot of members of the team that I'm yet to introduce you to, so I'm looking forward to doing that in the future. What can you expect to see from the project in the coming days and weeks after this video? Well, first of all, very soon after this video you're going to see the first dev diary for OpenVic2. Catalyst is working on that. It's very funny to see dev diaries coming out for this, and the fact that I'm going to cover them, because I did all those streams in 2021 and 22 where we covered Victoria 3 dev diaries. I've got to try and get rid of the negative connotations I have with the 2 words dev diary, because this will all be positive. And yes, I'm going to get the dev diaries early before any other content creators can cover them. I've got to keep ahead of feedback gaming. The second upcoming thing to look out for is of course those discussion streams that I've already mentioned a lot, where I'll bring on team members and we'll really get into nitty-gritty stuff. I'll introduce you to them and finally let them speak for themselves. I've spoken for them a lot in this video, but it's going to be really important to hear from them. So look out for those on my YouTube channel. Whenever I schedule the stream in advance, you will see them pop up in your subscription window and on my channel. I'll notify you in community posts and on Twitter and Discord, and after the streams are over I'm just going to leave them as public on my main channel, and you'll be able to find them under the live tab right here, as well as in a playlist. In this video I haven't really explained much about what the team has actually done so far, apart from for example the artwork, but Dev Diary number 1 and the initial discussion streams are going to shine a light on that. We'll go into it in a lot of detail, don't worry, and you can get confirmation that this isn't all in my head and I'm not making these people up. Something that the team is going to be organising is a hackathon. Once again, check the public Discord for updates on when this will take place. It'll be open to absolutely everyone and members of the team alike, anyone who can code, so good luck, enjoy that guys, I'm not in it. Things and ideas from this could even influence the real project. Perhaps a few weeks after this video we're going to see an official website for the project, where of course you'll get the up-to-date information, the dev diaries, artwork, all sorts of things related to the project, and then of course at some point in the near future development for the project will begin in earnest, which will be open of course, and there will be a GitHub and all that. So that about covers it. I'm really looking forward to the future of this and contributing to it in my own way, and giving you further content about it like this video. Of course we shouldn't get too complacent, it's going to be very difficult, and the development team I'm sure will have some tough tasks. There might be setbacks, but they're experienced enough and they know that very well. I'd once again like to extend my gratitude towards all of them for working on this project. They're generously putting forward their time, their energy, and I'm going to make sure they all get the appropriate credit for that. And to all the people who filled out the form offering to contribute, thank you very much as well. And to everyone who's contributed to discussions, suggestions, and just generally to the people following it, commenting, expressing your support, and of course I invite everyone to continue doing that. Join the Discord, give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't, and keep the discussion going. I'd love to hear all your feedback, tell me your thoughts about what was in this video, and as for me and my channel, if you'd like to support it, you can join my Patreon. This video was difficult and time consuming to make, although I enjoy every minute of it. As a further note, I've been working on and making great progress with the Aragon Great War video. As a matter of fact, it'll be out on Friday the 3rd of February, you can check my recent schedule. Towards the end of last year I just wasn't that inspired to make it, but now I am. I've got great ideas and it's going to be good. Thank you very much for watching everyone, and have a nice day. Bye.